I continued my aviation career in aviation video and was in charge of all the onboard cameras at EAA for many years. And my dad was a World War II veteran, an instructor pilot, multi-engine like B-17, B-25. And like many of the veterans of his era, he didn't talk much about it. It was a part of their history that they put away, and that's it, they were done. But as I started to get into aviation and aviation career, he started opening up and talking about a few things. And he knew I was going to Oshkosh every year, and he said, man, he said, I've always wanted to go to Oshkosh. That'd be so great to go to Oshkosh. And I said, Dad, come on up. We'll take care of you. I said, I got a place to stay. They had us at a house. You can stay with us at the house. I'll get you a golf cart, all access. Come on up. And so he did. 2004, he came up to Oshkosh and hooked him up with a golf cart. And I said, just go out and have fun. Check this whole thing out. I'll meet you later. And one of the things that he was totally enamored by and just caught his attention was the Harrier. I mean, and his hearing was pretty much shot by then, so the Harrier was a noisy jet whenever it flew. You watch it the first time, you go, oh, that's awesome. After that, you went, oh, crap, the Harrier's flying. You earplugs and get as far away as you could. But I just remember watching my dad standing there at Oshkosh, looking up at the Harrier, doing this routine, and just, totally transfixed with it. So there's a B-17 on display at Oshkosh. That year was Thunderbird was the name of the B-17. It was on display in the square, and people were paying for, I think it was $5 or $10 for a walkthrough tour to actually walk through the B-17. I knew the guys that were running the tour. I'd gotten to know them a little bit, and I brought my dad up and introduced him, and I told him, I said, yeah, Dad used to fly. And they said, don't worry. They stopped the crowd. They stopped everybody, and this is a hot summer day, and there's probably 200 people lined up waiting to go through this airplane, and they said, you go ahead and go. And nobody said a word. Everybody pretty much knew what was going on. And so Dad and I crawled up in it, and it took a while. Even though the B-17 is a pretty big airplane, when you get inside it, it's not that big. So we had to crawl in and walk across the catwalk over the bomb bays and get up into the cockpit. And he steps up in there and slides over and sits down in the left seat, puts his hand on the yoke. I slide over in the right seat, and he's got his head down and his eyes are closed. He starts shaking. And he's a big husky guy. He's not quite as big as me, but he's a big man. And he goes, it's been a long time. And the tears start flowing. I'm sitting next to him. I start crying, but it was such an emotional day for him. Finally, after all those years, he sat back down in the cockpit of a B-17. Now, he did not see combat, but he trained a lot of pilots, and he was very proud of the fact that he was an instructor pilot. And he always used to say, yeah, they kept us instructors back because we were better pilots. They wanted us to teach. And there's a lot of truth to that. But he never saw combat, but he saw a lot of scary things. And the things that stuck with him. But it took us about 15 minutes to gain our composure and crawl out of that airplane. And Dad passed away in 2005, so the following year. But he got the chance to go to Oshkosh and see all that stuff, and once again sit in the B-17 in the controls. Pretty emotional day.